My name is Ben. I'm 24, and I live in Austin, Texas. I've always been the kind of guy who loves a thrill, always looking for something new to give me that adrenaline rush. So when I heard about the Red Room on the dark web, I couldn't resist checking it out. My friends thought it was just an urban legend, a creepy story people tell to scare each other. The idea was simple. You pay a lot of money in Bitcoin, and in return, you get to watch live torture sessions. I didn't believe it was real either, but curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to know if it was all just a myth. So one night, I sat down with my laptop, found my way into the dark web, and started digging around. After clicking through a few forums, I found a link. It looked shady, just a black screen with the words, "The Red Room," in blood red letters. My heart raced as I hesitated for a moment before clicking on it. The site asked for a ridiculous amount of Bitcoin to enter. I wasn't sure what I was doing, but I went ahead and paid. Moments later, I was in. The screen turned black, and then a video started playing. It looked like a normal room at first, dark and empty. Then, a light flickered on, and I saw a man chained to a chair. His face was bruised, and he looked terrified. 3 masked figures surrounded him. They didn't say a word, just stood there, waiting. Suddenly, one of them pulled out a knife and began carving into the man's arm. The screams that came from him were so real, so raw, that I felt like I could hear them in my own head. My stomach churned, and I wanted to turn it off, but I couldn't look away. It was sickening, yet something kept me watching. My phone buzzed. At first, I ignored it, too focused on the horrific scene in front of me. But then it buzzed again and again. I finally glanced down at the screen. A message appeared. "How's the show, Ben? You're next in line." I froze. My blood turned to ice as I stared at the words. How did they know my name? Panic set in. I tried to close the browser, but it wouldn't shut down. The stream kept playing, and then I heard something that made my heart stop. The masked figures in the video turned to the camera, and one of them spoke. "We're coming for you, Ben," he said calmly. "You're our next guest." I slammed my laptop shut and threw it across the room. My hands were shaking as I tried to catch my breath. This had to be a joke, right? Someone was messing with me. But the next morning, I woke up to a knock at my door. A package had been left on my doorstep with no return address. I cautiously opened it, and inside were tools. The same tools I had seen in the video, the same ones they used to torture the man. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I threw the package out and tried to convince myself it was all just a bad dream. But over the next few days, more packages kept arriving. A hammer, pliers, a knife. Everything they had used. I knew I had to get out. I changed my name, moved to a different city, and deleted everything online that could trace back to me. But even now, the fear hasn't gone away. I still get packages, and sometimes, late at night, I hear a knock at my door. I haven't opened it. I'm too afraid to find out who's on the other side. My name is Marcus. I'm 27, and I live in Seattle. I've always been into tech, hacking around with software and exploring the deep parts of the internet. One night, out of boredom, I started browsing the dark web. It was nothing too serious, just poking around in forums and chat rooms, looking for something to kill the time. That's when I found a link, very deep in a thread that warned against clicking it. Of course, being curious, I clicked it anyway. The screen went black for a moment, then loaded a live video feed. The image was grainy, like it had been filmed with an old webcam. At first, it didn't seem like anything unusual, just a group of people sitting in a living room, chatting and watching TV. But something about the scene felt off, like I wasn't supposed to be watching this. There were no obvious signs of anything disturbing, yet I couldn't shake the eerie feeling growing in the pit of my stomach. The video continued for a while, and the people just sat there. I was about to close the stream when suddenly, one of them stood up. A masked figure entered the room, holding what looked like a large metal pipe. The people in the room didn't react. They sat still as the figure moved closer, raising the pipe. Then it began. One by one, the people were dragged away. The screams filled my headphones as the camera remained fixed on the living room. The scene became more brutal as minutes passed, and I realized this wasn't just some twisted prank. This was real. I tried to exit the stream, but the button wouldn't work. The feed kept playing, and I was forced to watch. Each new person was subjected to something worse than the last. The room, now soaked in blood, still looked eerily familiar, but I couldn't place it. Then, the final person entered the frame. It was a man sitting alone in a chair, his face hidden by shadows. I couldn't see much of him, but something clicked in my brain. The shape of the room, the furniture, everything looked like my own living room. I leaned in closer, and my heart stopped. It was my living room. The couch, the coffee table, everything was mine. Panic shot through me, and I jumped up from my chair, scanning the room around me. I was alone, but the house felt wrong, like someone had been there, watching me. I turned back to my screen, where the man in the chair was now staring directly into the camera. My face stared back at me from the monitor. I felt a chill go down my spine. Then, a message popped up on my screen. "You're next." I slammed my laptop shut, but the camera light stayed on. Someone was watching me. I tore the plug from the wall and grabbed my phone, ready to call the police, but I stopped. What could I say? That I had stumbled onto a dark web stream showing my living room. I knew I couldn't stay there. I packed a bag that night and left. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, just moved to a new city under a new name, hoping to leave it behind. But even now, wherever I go, I can't shake the feeling that someone is still watching. Every time I turn on my laptop, I check to see if the camera light is on. It never is, but the fear never leaves me. I don't know how they found me, and I don't know when it will end. But I do know one thing for sure. They're still out there, and they're still watching. My name is Julian. I'm 29, and I live in Denver. I've always been a bit reckless, especially online. One night, out of boredom, I found myself browsing the dark web. I stumbled across a forum advertising hitmen for hire. It seemed fake, just a bunch of people joking around, trying to sound tough. As a joke, I typed in the name of my coworker, Adam, a guy I couldn't stand. We had a long history of bad blood, so it felt like harmless venting. I never thought it would go anywhere. I filled out the inquiry form with some basic info about Adam and hit submit. Then I closed my laptop, laughing to myself. I forgot about it until a few days later when Adam didn't show up to work. At first, I didn't think much of it, but by the third day, rumors started flying that he was missing. That's when I got the email. There was no subject, just a single attachment. I hesitated, but eventually clicked on it. My heart stopped. It was a video, grainy, like it had been filmed with a cheap camera. In the footage, I saw Adam, tied to a chair, beaten and bloody. A masked figure stood over him, holding a knife. The screen blurred as the knife came down. The sounds of Adam's screams echoed in my head long after the video ended. I closed my laptop, shaking. I couldn't believe what I had seen. This had to be a sick prank, right? But the next day, Adam still didn't show up, and the police were starting to investigate his disappearance. Panicking, I tried to report the email to the authorities, but when I opened my inbox, the message was gone. Just like that, disappeared, and then my laptop crashed, the screen going black. I felt sick. Later that night, another email arrived. This time, it was a simple message. "You're next unless you hire us again." My blood ran cold. They knew who I was. They knew where I worked, and they had just shown me what they were capable of. I knew I had two choices: hire them to take someone else out or run. I chose to run. I left Denver, packed what little I could carry, and fled the country. But even now, no matter where I go, the emails keep coming. I don't know when they'll stop, or if they ever will.